Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Do 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 do. Yeah. Yes, we're doing the Starch tier list, you guys. And here we go. It seems like the people love the tier lists. I should definitely do more. This was just a creative idea. I forget who gave me this idea. Should I shout them out? If I wrote it down, I'll shout them out. Starch Lord tier list. I guess I really should do a tier list of all the cards buffed in 2025. I'll do that maybe next week. Eureka tier list. It's actually not a bad idea. And then we can go with also like HB Super tier list. Burb tier list. It's actually having all the cards that something could conjure is funny. But anyway. Oh, I guess Eureka is going to be every zombie card. Okay, so we can't do Eureka. That would be a 4-hour long video. That would be so crazy. And the tier list would be so incoherent. It would just be every... You're right, it would be half the cards in the game. Nah, okay. Space time maybe is more doable. Should I watch your stream or complete my soon due schoolwork? That's a personal life choice I don't feel comfortable answering. This is not going to take very long. This is really, there's not a lot of routes, so this should just be about a half an hour long here. S says God and A says good. Maybe I'll do this just to... In fact, I see it's confusing now. Oh, I didn't do the colors like I usually do. So I usually do this one red, and then this one is just like purple. I think this is how I usually do it. All right, we have the colors, you guys. Good luck, Gator Lover. All right, guys. I guess let's start the video with Starch Lord locked and loaded here. Ah! All right, so this needs to go here. This needs to go here. And it looks like we is good to go. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Oh, I guess you're right. I should be doing this while searching route. You are 100% right. Thank you very much for that idea, so I don't have to be going and finding them all the time. Having this set up, we can just go in and out of images and then scroll through them. And actually, yeah, really, thank you. Thank you, Lori. And thank you, Kurz, 27
Hey
months.
Fry, do you think classic decks like OTK Cat Lady or in Blob decks are still viable?
Oh,
Would be
OTK
curious
Cot
to
Lady
see
is
if
the
they could
GOAT.
still
OTK
work.
Cot Lady arguably is the best deck in PvZ Heroes. Seriously. Y'all are still sleeping on that one, man.
Fry them up, fry them down, but never gonna fry
Thank you,
up
Cursed.
like
Wait, so who was the first one from? It was from Gall United, just a $5 donation. Blob decks. Blob went down a little bit when Wingnut went up, but now Wingnut's gone. I think Blob is also top tier because it also got a buff. I guess they should do just Blob decks. Just all out Blob, man. I wanted to do like Blob with Chum Champion, but I should really. There's no Wingnuts anymore. Blob is probably S tier. I'll try to do a Blob deck this next week. I wrote it down. Thanks for the idea. But OTK Cat Lady, man. OTK Cat Lady say it's probably the best deck in the game. I don't know. I guess it has a few bad matchups. But in terms of raw power, it's more powerful than Valk Trickster Hybrid because it wins. It doesn't win on turn 7. It wins on turn 5. It's ridiculous. Okay, so I'm not doing superpowers. I'm doing could have added the 3 superpowers. I'm really doing this on what is conjured from Starch Lord though. So I took the cards that they I'll mention the 3 root superpowers. There's just 3 of them, yeah. I'll mention those after. Can we do the daily for some bets at the end? If we have time. I actually have to be somewhere in an hour. So let's just get right into it here, and here we go. What's going on, everybody? This is Fry. So today I'm really excited to bring you the Starch Lord tier list. What this is going to be about is obviously not just rating every card that is a root in the game and putting on a tier list. I've already done those in their individual classes, but instead it's going to be when a card is conjured from Starch Lord, how good is it going to be? Starch Lord has been relatively recently buffed. That not only does the root you play get the 1/1 buff, but Starch Lord itself is gaining buffs, which is definitely going to make a lot of small team-up plants be better with Starch Lords. So that is sort of going to be the criteria. It's obviously going to depend a lot on what the board looks like. If you have a very full board, some cards are going to be better, other cards are going to be worse, and vice versa. But we're going to be taking all that into consideration and putting these on the tier list. Again, this is cards conjured from a Starch Lord. I'm going to start off with Garlic, and I'm going to be putting Garlic in S tier. The reason Garlic is an S tier is because it really fulfills all of the criteria of a really super amazing card with Starch Lord. First of all, it is cheap, so it's spammable, and again, every little root that you're spamming is going to be buffing your Starch Lord. It also is team up, and it can save your Starch Lord from dying. The fact that you're putting something in front of it, protecting your Starch Lord either from a big attack or from a deadly minion, really makes the Garlic really quite good. It also, again, I'd say the third criteria is the fact it just has good stats. Anyway, 1 cost 1/5, team up is good stats, and now it's going to be a 2/6. It's just ridiculous. It's so much value. You can play this together with other cards in the same turn. Really, always want to see Garlic coming from Starch Lord. Now, the next two I'm going to do is going to be a little controversial. It's going to be regular Potato Mine and Primal Potato Mine. Now, if I was making a regular tier list, Primal Potato Mine would be pretty high on it because this is a better early game card than the Potato Mine that has team up but does less damage. But now that we're talking about cards that were conjured from a Starch Lord, the Potato Mine is actually going in S tier and Primal Potato Mine is going in F tier for the simple reason that you have a Starch Lord on the board, and it's got to be at least turn 5, right? We're talking about it's turn 5, 6, or 7 after you've played your Starch Lord on turn 4. And when it comes to Primal Potato Mine, this is a very good card in the first couple of turns to be taking out early game threats. Once it's already turn 5 or 6, the difference between 3 damage and 2 damage is really not that big of a deal. Most times, both the Primal Potato Mine and the 2 or the 3 damage is not going to kill a zombie plate on the other side, unless it's exactly binary stars. However, at that point, that is when the team up really makes this so much better. This can protect your Starch, so it can be played in the same lane. It's also, again, not taking up board space, so it does, you are able to spam a lot of roots, which is going to mean you're getting more buffs from your Starch Lord and more buffs to your Starch Lord. It will grow. That's kind of just the cool thing about the new Starch Lord, is that it itself ends up being a mega threat in terms of the amount of stats that it accumulates by spamming a whole bunch. Small team up minions are the absolute GOAT. This also, again, is going to have 1 attack, plus it's doing 2, so it can, when you play this in front of a Starch Lord, it will just trade up, like way up. I mean, there's almost no zombie they can be playing on turns 5 or 6 in front of a Starch Lord that Potato Mine won't just flip the trade from Starch Lord losing it to now Potato Mine dies and Starch Lord is living and conjuring you more cards and stuff like that. On turns 4 and 5, Primal Potato Mine, this is not a card you can really force onto the board. Granted, if they put exactly a 4 attack, 4 health minion in a different lane, I guess then Primal Potato Mine would be the perfect answer, and it would be better in that situation, maybe, than Potato Mine, maybe not. This is not a card you can force onto the board, and you want, in general, your minions, when you're getting it from Starch Lord, to be able to force them onto the board. You have to be playing proactively in order to be getting that value from the Starch Lord, both to make the Starch Lord live so it's not running out of health, giving it that buff, but also so you're just capitalizing on the Starch Lord in case it does die, that it's leaving a bunch of value left on the board. And that's why Primal Potato Mine is going into F tier. This is probably pound for pound the worst. This is probably the worst, just in terms of how hard it is to get. It also is clogging a whole lane if you play this, so that means you might not end up having lane space for much more value that you need in the late game. So probably the worst, the absolute worst route to be conjuring from Starch Lord. Yes, keep on moving here, and the next one is going to be Gravebuster. So I have tested this. Gravebuster and also the environments do not give Starch Lord a buff at all when played. For some reason, it doesn't really look like this on the card. But in order for Starch Lord to get the 1/1 buff, the other one also has to. And since Gravebuster can't get buffed, Starch Lord also can't get buffed. It's just contingent on the both. I guess that's the key word there that implies this. And for that reason, I'm going to be putting Gravebuster also in F tier. Now, again, this can be good, obviously. In rare circumstances, just like the Primal Potato Mine, this can be good if they play just a huge gravestone on the board, and they play a Gargolith on the board, or a binary stars, or even later like a Zomba, then yeah, obviously this is S tier. But in terms of, you don't really want to see your Starch Lord conjure this, because it is just not a card you can force at all. Like, you really need the exact right circumstances for this to be playable, and you need your Starch Lord to be getting value as soon as you can, and that's why Gravebuster is going in F tier, and also Spikeweed Sector, which actually is in the wrong part of the tier list, because now instead of costing 2, this does cost 3. I'll just address it right now, but it's going right together with Gravebuster. Alright, it's okay. I'm keeping it in F tier, because first of all, this is an F tier card. 3 cost Spikeweed Sector sucks. 2 cost, maybe I would have changed something, but again, it's an environment, it's not getting the buff, it's not helping your Starch Lord at all. I guess if they put like a Toxic Waste Imp or a Cosmic Imp, a little deadly minion, so technically then Spikeweed Sector would be the right thing, the right answer, but so would a Banana Bomb at this point. It's not buffing your Starch Lord at all. It really has nothing to do with this entire equation, and you don't really want to see Spikeweed Sector coming out of your Starch Lords.
What if they made Spikeweed Sector 3 cost and does
I think 3 cost 3 damage Spikeweed would be a really great idea. I think that could be cool. Would that be OP? I don't think it would be OP. It's a really expensive environment. Alright, moving right along to Triceratops. Alright, so here's a decent one. Now, it's definitely not going to be... It's not going to be in the top tiers of the this tier list, but I am going to put it in B that it's good sometimes, because it really depends on the circumstances. If you have just Starch Lord and it's turn 5, and you have an empty board, and you have a bunch of small cards, this being one of those threats, it'll be 2 cost, 2/3, it's a bullseye, it will be growing not only from drawing a card every turn, but it's also growing when the Starch Lord, if the Starch Lord lives, that's going to be conjuring. This will actually be growing twice as well. So this is a pretty decent card. The problem is that if you have a fuller board, this is actually really bad, because, you know, this is going to be taking a lane. And again, if you have, I'm trying to take all the circumstances into consideration here. If you have your Starch Lord on the board and you have 1 or 2 other minions, so you only have 1 or 2 empty lanes, spending Triceratops is typically not a great idea. We always know from when Triceratops started with 3 health that playing it in the late game typically does not yield a lot of results because it's relatively slow. It's not going to be, you know, it's not a team up, so you're not going to, but again, it's good. It's very good if you have an empty board, and it's still okay as being one of the minions that you're spending a your lane slot on, so that's why I'm putting it in B tier. See, this is another one that's going to be very different now from its regular power now that you have a Starch Lord on the board, because now this has a lot of great stuff. It has okay stats, being a 2 cost 1/9. After the Starch Lord buff, it can protect your Starch Lord from dying, which is really, really cool. It's also amphibious. So this is team up on steroids, the fact that it can just be played in any lane. So this will be good on an empty board. It's totally fine because it's cheap, and on a full board, especially a board that you already have, you know, all your lanes, this can go in any lanes, can go in the water. This is good. Spamming this in its own lane, it's a little bit hard for me to say where to put this. I think I'm just going to drop this in A tier, though, because the amount of times it's going to be great is a lot. You can't really, it's not going to be as good as the 1 cost versions of them. Obviously, these are just going to be better because they're just, they're half the cost. This is either high B or low A. This is actually a really, really tough one. I feel like on paper this is amazing, and maybe in practice it's less. I wish I would have gotten Water Chestnut a lot more times from Starch Lord, because it's only happened a few times that I've even conjured this. I'm going to optimistically put this in low A tier because of how good it is, again, in terms of being cheap, being team up, and being amphibious. It really is it's always going to be okay, and very often going to be really, really good. All right, moving right along, it's going to be Plantern. So Plantern is going to definitely be an E tier. It's not cheap enough to be, you know, spammable and empty board. And then when you have a full board, it's not powerful enough to really fill that niche. It's kind of only good stats anyway when you have the environment you can play it in. I guess at that point, it'll be a 5/5 bullseye with its own buff and the Starch Lord buff. In general, this is pretty it doesn't have team up. It doesn't have a lot of power. It's not great. It's not a great late game card. And it's not very spammable. It's just okay. I'm going to put it in D tier. The next one is going to be a tough one, which is Blockbuster. Now, Blockbuster is so much better than Gravebuster because at least this can be forced. You know, this is the reason why we run Blockbuster in Guardian package more than Gravebuster, is because in a tempo deck, if you want to really be forcing the issue, playing a 4-cost 3/3 Bullseye is great. This is a 4-cost 5/5 Bullseye if you count the stats it's getting and the fact it's also buffing your Starch Lord. Plus the fact that this can just be absolutely devastating, you know, to opponents playing Mix Up Gravedigger on turn 5 or just any kind of big gravestone. Like, this is really cool. You don't mind seeing this from your Starch Lord when you're conjuring it. It doesn't keep your Starch Lord alive necessarily. It'll be a 4-cost 4/4 bullseye. It's pretty good, man. Even 4-cost 4/4 bullseye. That's a lot, because again, you're hitting your opponent so much. Adding some bullseye in, this is again either low A or high B. I'm gonna say because it actually is a little bit understated for a 4-cost card, and then in terms of forcing it, you can't really force it to do the thing that it's supposed to do, which is destroy the gravestone. I'm gonna put this in high B tier, but it's good. It's good sometimes. It's solid. Next is going to be Conjuring Starch Lord from Starch Lord, which obviously is going to be S tier. I mean, this is the best thing you can get, because now you're going to have 2 minions that they're both conjuring roots, so then every minion root you play afterwards is getting a 2/2 buff, and then each of them is also giving the other Starch Lord cards that will buff that one. So you're buffing 2 different Starch Lords for 1/1 every single time you conjure a root. Getting Starch Lord from Starch Lord is great. It's the reason I love the Spadao version, where you go Imitator Starch Lord. Having 2 Starch Lords on the board is just GG. I mean, it's so hard for opponents to deal with, unless they just have perfect answers. So it's easily going in S tier. All right, next we are going to go Tough Beats. So again, this is one that's going to be tough, pun intended, because, you know, this did actually get buffed. It starts at 2/2 now. Instead of like 6/1, and then just the health would grow. This has huge upside. So again, obviously on an empty board, if it's just turn 5 and the only thing you have on the board is a Starch Lord, and your opponent doesn't have any minions on the board, Tough Beats is awful. It's just going to be like a 5-cost 3/3/4/4. But even if you have one other minion on the board and the opponent has one other minion on the board, so all of a sudden this is 5-cost 5/5 armor. Make it 6/6 because the Starch Lord's buffing it, and then make it also a 1/1 buff to the... It's really not bad. This is good. This is great. I'm gonna put this up in B tier because, again, it's hard to put this higher just because it does suffer a little bit as being too expensive. Doesn't stand by itself enough on empty boards, but this can be the best one, because if you have a bunch of team ups and you've already played all your garlics, and you've already played your potato mines, and you have all these team ups and an amphibious lane and everything's happening like that, this can end up being like a 10/10 and just like so overpowered for a 5-cost card. At the end of the day, it's good sometimes. We'll put it in B tier. And the next one's going to be Soul Patch. Soul Patch I am going to put in A. I'd say basically this is always good. Obviously, it costs 6 now instead of 7, so Soul Patch in itself is a very good card. This will be, again, on empty boards, this is going to be fine. On full boards, this is going to be the best thing ever, because, again, you want on full boards to be able to spend that last lane, get as much stats as you can. The utility of Starch Lord of Soul Patch, I mean, is really, really good. Obviously, this would be bad if they have any kind of deadly, but other than that, I mean, Soul Patch, if they're going to start using the removal cards on the Soul Patch, now your Starch Lords are just going to grow and explode. That sort of synergy, that really the only practical way of killing this are the same cards that they need anyway to kill Starch Lord, makes it better, because it's going to make them run out of those. So we'll put this in A tier. I'm going to say it's still not quite as good as the ones we have in God tier, because again, it's not necessarily it's keeping your face alive. It's not keeping your Starch Lord alive. It's not continuing the engine of the deck the way they do, but I would say you always want to see Soul Patch, so that's fine. All right, we will move on to the Kabloom class. Welcome to everyone from every different country. Let's try to keep the chat in general in English. Giving a shout out to your homies though in Russian is totally fine. All right, Velasa Radish Hatchling. All right, so I'm going to put this in mid, because it is okay. Again, if you're spamming, first of all, this probably isn't the best. There are a lot better cards to spam, like Triceratops, even like Fireweed, the fact that it's starting, bigger. If in the spam situation, there are some much, much better spammers. This is a 1 cost, so again, if you just have Starch Lord and you have a whole bunch of other cheap cards, this is fine to spend a lane on. It'll be a 2/3 when you play it, 1 cost 2/3, and it does have the potential to grow. It will be growing. I just don't, especially because it's not growing in health, it can't be as good as Triceratops. I'm going to say this is mid. Sometimes it's okay. I don't think this is ever going to be the best. And sometimes it's absolutely awful on full boards. This is absolutely awful. You don't want to be spending a lane on a Velociraptor Hatchling. You never want to see this. So that's why we're putting it in mid tier. Fireweed I'm going to put in good sometimes, because this is... it's decent spammable. It's decent to have an answer sometimes to opponents' environments. A little bit hard to pull that off. But at the end of the day, you put this on heights, it's going to be a 2-cost 4/3, which is just a nice big chunk of stats on that first turn. You're really pressing the issue, putting 4 attack. Even compared to Triceratops, only putting 2 attack. Has more potential later, but you typically want the value now. 2-cost 4/3 is just ridiculous. And again, every once in a while, putting this on the ground and creating that hot lava, countering your opponent's environments is fine. So we'll put that in B tier. Imitator is a really interesting one. Like, Imitator is not... It's not spammable because you don't want Imitator copying your small minions. Imitator does have the cool thing that it could technically buff your Starch Lord twice, though. Like, once when it's played because it's a root, and then if it turns into another root, that root will get a 1/1 buff and it'll buff your Starch Lord a second time. At the end of the day, Imitator getting it from Starch Lord is mid. Getting it before Starch Lord on turn 3, it's double S tier. I mean, this is literally the best card. If you're running Spadal, run Imitator. But you don't typically want these after. In fact, usually if you're doing it after, you're going to play like, you know, let's say it's turn 5, so you'll play like Triceratops, and then you'll play Imitator on 5, and then on turn 6, you'll go for your Soul Patcher for some bigger root. And really you don't want this necessarily to be copying anything the turn played. You're saving it for next turn, because Imitator likes to copy a bigger minion. You're not necessarily going to get that opportunity. Again, if it's turn 7, I guess you have a Starch Lord on the board, you can Imitator Starch Lord on turn 7. I guess that would be okay. Typically, this is mid because it's not spammable, and then it's not playable on big boards either, so it's kind of just okay. Every once in a while, it'll be amazing, but usually not. Velociraptor Pac-Mate, on the other hand, this is 2 roots, so this has the team up built in. This is definitely worth it in a lane, because the first turn it's going to have 4 attack, and then the next turn it's going to go to 8, because you have 2 minions now that are growing when you draw a card and when Starch Lord conjures. I mean, this has to be... I mean, this is either low S tier or high A tier. Is this good on a full board? The fact that it's going to 8 attack, though, this has to be S tier, right? It has the team up built into the card. It's also, when played, buff your Starch Lord now instead of by 1/1, it buffs it by 2. It's got to be S tier. It has to be. Has to be. I think I'd still rather see these 3 than see this one, but I mean, this is just so good getting 2 roots, man. It's so powerful. It's also only cost 3, so you can vary it for turn 5 or 6. You can easily spam this and spam something to protect your Starch Lord as well and develop another lane. Yeah, I'm going to put that in S tier. All right. Sweet Potato is going to be tough here. It really has a lot of the advantages that Garlic and Potato Mine have. It doesn't really have the attack, though. Like, I like the fact that when you're sticking this in front of Starch Lord, you know what I mean? Even though it's on turn 5, this is the only route you play. Starch Lord has 3 attack, this does 3, it's doing 6 damage in that lane. It's really ridiculous. You know, this won't have that. This is, you know, you're only doing 1 + 3, you're only doing 4 damage. It's not winning trades quite as well. Even Garlic is still doing more, it has more health, it can live a little bit longer. I think I'm going to be putting Sweet Potato. Sweet Potato can switch lanes, though. It can be moving things away from your Starch Lord. If they put something with Strike Through in front, that could kill it. I don't know, Strike Through Deadly. You know, they have a laser-based alpha they developed in the Starch, so they put something in, this can be saving it. This is spammable, though. It's good on full boards because it has team up. It does have utility. It is buffing your Starch Lord, and it's all for 1 cost. I'm actually going to put this in A tier because I think this is, again, probably, I'm just thinking back, very limited opportunities to play Sweet Potato. I guess I should probably make a Starch Lord Grass Knuckles that can run Sweet Potato to really find out how good this is going to be with the Starch Lord, but I think this is going to be okay. I guess this would also be nice if it just had other, I guess running this in the deck probably would be worse, but getting it from the Starch Lord would be better, because this is kind of just better to have. Not clogging deck slots just to be conjuring on turn 5 or 6 and playing it together with other things. All right. Moving right along to Onion Rings. Another really tough one to put on this tier list because it depends what's in your hand. Like, again, if you have an empty board and you have a very spammable hand, this can be ridiculous because you play this on 5 and then on turn 6, if you can get your Starch Lord to live again, you just spam all these 4/4 roots all over the board. It doesn't really have anything to do with Starch Lord other than the fact that you're probably running a bunch of Potato Mines and Garlics. So I guess you have to take that into consideration, that typically Starch Lords do run these cards in their deck, and it does have synergy with a lot of the other roots that you can get. That being said, on full boards, this is not going to be great. This can be God tier. I think there's no other place I can put this other than B, because this is a card that can be absolute top tier, but then it just is going to fall short sometimes. you know, if you have bigger minions and you're going and you have Potatosaurus and you have Soul Patch in your hand, this is obviously going to be unplayable. It's not always good. So we're putting it in B. Again, I'm not putting a power... This is not a power tier list. This is a consistency tier list. And this is good sometimes. Really, really good sometimes. Next is Red Planet. And Red Planet, for all practical purposes, is going in F tier with all the rest of the environments and Gravebusters there. Because, again, you play this, it does not buff your Starch Lord when you play this. Red Planet, yeah, again... In the right circumstances, this as a standalone card can buff a lane that had team-ups in it, because you're running Starch Lord, so you have Starch Lord Garlic in the same lane, and then all of a sudden you play Red Planet and you kill them, but at the end of the day, that lane is chump blockable. The environment can be covered by a black hole that costs 1. It has all the drawbacks of what the Red Planet card anyway has, being a 5-cost environment, and has none of the advantages of being a root. And I would say, really, you know... At the end of the day, if you have a Starch Lord and your next play is just going to be Red Planet, and that's all the momentum that you're gaining from your Starch Lord that turn, you probably wasted your turn. It's going in F tier. Whipvine, which has 6/5 stats now instead of 5/5, so it's a high-statted card. It has decent utility. This can keep your Starch Lord alive. It has that. It's a very interesting ability, which, again, this is a good ability, but it becomes a better... when you have Starch Lord on the board. It also, again, has very high stats. It's going to be 5 cost 7/6. I mean, this got to be an A tier. It's hard to think of times where Whipvine is not going to be great, and sometimes it'll be the greatest. Because, again, playable on empty boards, protects your Starch Lord, playable on big boards. It really fills all the criteria of A tier. Next, a Potatosaurus. All right. Where are we putting Potatosaurus? It's also, you know, so it's 6 cost 6/6. It's untrickable. It's playable on empty and full boards. It's also giving you a root. And that root, who knows what you're going to get, but it at least will be playable the next turn to buff your Starch Lord. This is growing the next turn when your Starch Lord draws a card. So this is going up to 6/6 that turn and then 8/8 to next turn if your Starch Lord's still around. Alright, so this has to be at least an A tier. I still don't think this is going in S tier, because it's only buffing your Starch Lord one time when you're playing it, as opposed to these are going to be resulting in many, many buffs. I guess the little minion it makes results in a buff. Usually the next turn. Usually, even if you play this on 7, you're typically not going to top deck exactly a 1-cost root. I think this is always decent, though. When you play Starch Lord, this is always okay. And even, again, it's only giving the Starch Lord a 1/1 buff. The amount of stats this is putting on the board, this is a good card in itself. I mean, it's not... If this buffs your Starch Lord to you know, you played Starch Lord on turn 5, let's say, and then this buffs your Starch Lord to 3/5, and then this is also 6/6 untrickable draw a card on turn 6, you're still doing great. Like, you've pressed the issue, which is how you want to play Starch Lord. Your Starch Lord's on the board, you're gonna just burst out tempo your opponent. That's the mindset. I hope I'm giving you guys, besides for an entertaining tier list, a little bit of a mindset in terms of how to build Starch Lord decks. I guess that's what I forgot to say earlier with Potato Mine. Is like, this is why I'm putting Potato Mine in the Starch Lord decks rather than Primal Potato Mine, because you're not just considering the early game, you're considering what happens when you get a Starch Lord on the board. How do you make sure that you're going to win? And I would say, yeah, so Potatosaurus will be decent in that situation. Bamboozle... Okay, so Bamboozle is a buffed card. It's 6 cost 6/6, which is just meh. It's just S stats. Yeah, this isn't that actually good on an empty... On a full board, this would be better because you do want to just play one big minion, but it doesn't have team up. You can play this on, you know, an empty board, but again, it's not even close to where Potatosaurus or even Tough beats like the potential that those cards have. You know, again, this can be played on a full board, because if you have all your team ups and all your lanes are clogged with little guys, so then you can play this on top of one of the little guys. Like, you know, if you spent, you know, earlier, you know, on a, you know, just a Fireweed or a Triceratops that it hasn't grown a lot, or just, you know, one of your little minions, you can actually just play this on top. It'll grow the other dinosaurs that you have. I guess it's just these two. I I would say in general, you don't want to see Bamboo. You don't want to get Bamboo. It's only buffing your Starch Lord once, and it's not like Potatosaurus, where it's just always going to be a huge source of tempo. I think I'm going to put it in D, which is tier. Next, Super Fat Beats. All right, so it's... I'm going to say... Let's do a straight comparison, obviously, to Super Tough Beats. So this is going to be 5 cost 2 armor, and this one's going to be 6 cost 4 without an armor. So it's for 1 extra cost. It basically has 2 extra attack and 1 extra health on a good day. You can argue that 2 armor is closer to 4 than it is to 3, because it gets hit multiple times. It's definitely going to be worse than the Tough Beats, because it's more expensive. It's harder to spam together with another card, which is going to hurt not only Starch Lord, but hurt itself. This is okay. I'm going to say that this is mid. It's also, again, going to be quite good on big boards. This can end up being amazing, huge stats, but on empty boards, you really want to be spamming a lot of other minions. I think this is just going to be mid. Again, at the end of the day, if there's only 4 other guys on the board, this is still growing up to 9/9, so it's pretty good. But I think there's just going to always be something better here. It's always going to, probably basically always going to be better to get the ones in B tier. Maybe this could be good sometimes. Should we put this in good sometimes? It's so good sometimes. But I guess Imitator, and I guess these can all be very good sometimes. Rarely. This is either low B or high C. Alright, we'll put it in a low B, because at the end of the day, I'm taking in consideration the fact that you very often have a lot of team-ups and a lot of real small minions when you have the Starch Lord. It also is a root. Alright, we'll put it in high B. It's also playable on full boards. Alright, it's good sometimes. Low B tier. Very low. Spyrus, I'm putting in A, because Spyrus is a 1 cost, is super spammable, super playable on full boards because it's got Amphibious. You're opening up your Amphibia 5th lane to roots. You know, 1 cost 3/2 is just strong. Can obviously play this with anything. It doesn't take any board space, just the Amphibious lane, man. This will typically be the only Amphibious card that you have, other than Rhodobaga, which anyway doesn't want to be played in the water lane. I mean, the only other, again, besides for those two, the only other Amphibious route is just going to be Water Chestnut, which is a team-up. So this actually plays a really important role in root decks, and again, you conjure this from a Starch Lord. You're always happy. You're always happy seeing this, conjuring this from Starch Lord. It doesn't protect Starch Lord. It doesn't create the engine that these cards do, but it's going in A tier. It's always good. And I think the same thing can be said about Rhodobaga. I'm gonna put this, I think, also in A tier. Because the amount, again, this puts 6 damage on the board when you play it for 2, because again, this getting buffed by 1/1, this will be a 3/2, man. Pretty easy to take out. It does have, again, pretty low health. It's only going to have 2 healths, and by the time it's turn 5 or 6, that's the reason why I'm not putting it in S tier. Because by the time it's turn 5 and 6, this actually is a very vulnerable target. 2 damage is just, like, really easy to do at that point, dealing with a 3/2. But at the end of the day, it's a 2-cost card doing 6 damage. And of all the other little threats that you're hopefully spamming together with this on the board, you know, they're not necessarily going to be able to think about the Rhodobaga, and the amount of damage it's doing just for 2 is really ridiculous. This is high A tier. This is really good. Where do I put Rescue Radish? Honestly, this is just mid or eh. I really think this is actually going to be even worse. Than like Imitator. It's definitely, yeah, it's going to be in D tier. The reason, again, is because this is not a card that you can force. This is a Rescue Radish, the card you have to play patiently. Again, if you have the exact right circumstances and you have a Garlic, and then you can Rescue Radish the Garlic and then play it right back on the board, all of a sudden, and that's the reason why I'm not sticking this in F tier. That's the reason it'll be better than Primal Potato Mine. And it also does have pretty decent stats for Rescue Radish. I mean, maybe this could be because of the high potential it has, but again, typically you don't want to be spending your sun that way. Like, when you're spamming, you want to be pressing stats onto the board, not you play Garlic and then you bounce it off and then you're replaying it. Yeah, but it'll buff your Starch Lord an extra time, but it's just better to play 3 minions. If you're in the spam phase, just play 3 minions. That is the best way to buff Starch Lord, not playing 2 minions and doing a whole hokey pokey. Again, this is super unreliable. Every once in a while, this will be amazing, but this is just like Bamboozle. Every once in a while, full board, you draw cards, you draw exactly what you need. You draw your Espresso Fiesta. Alright, I'll put this in low C tier because sometimes this can be amazing. Sometimes repositioning a team up and playing 3, it'll cause you to play 3 roots on turn 5. Sometimes this can be exactly what the doctor ordered. Low C tier, very risque. Cartillery is going to be another hard one because, again, it's 4 cost, so it's not spammable. So it's definitely coming down a couple of tiers. It's going to be maximum B tier, but it does have 4 cost 5/3 team up, so it's okay stats. This will be a 6/4. It's playable on empty boards because it's a huge threat. It can protect Starch Lord in a pinch because it has team up. It's playable on big boards, on full boards. Really good on full boards. You stick this behind, you developed your little non-team up minion, you just stick this behind, and all of a sudden this kind of turned your little non-team up minion into a team up, essentially, since this will be the bigger, more powerful card. Alright, it's going in B tier. This is actually decent. Actually decent. Is this always good? Could this be A? It's not as good as any of these A costs. It's got to be a little bit spam. No, it's not good if you need to spam. If you need to put a lot of little minions on the board, it's not good, and it's not as good of a late game card as the late game cards that we put in. It really isn't. It just doesn't have the stats. So this is 6/5, 4 cost 5/3. Put it in B. It's good sometimes. And for the last card that you can actually conjure from Starch Lord is going to be Hothead. So I didn't include Tater Toss because you can't actually get the superpower to, even though this is a root. You can't get that from Starch Lord. The superpower of Tater Toss is also not going to buff Starch. It's not like in Morticia Bats where you played a pet trick with Cat Lady on the board, and then it also created a pet minion. That's the reason why Morticia Bats buffs Cat Lady. The Starch Lord, of course, is only getting buffed when you play a card that itself gets buffed. So Tater Toss, the trick, does not get buffed. However, the minion, and you can actually conjure this from Starch Lord, will be. Alright, so it's a 3 cost. It can protect your Starch Lord. It can be played on full boards, played empty boards. This is a really reliable, unlike Primal Potato Mine, this is a very reliable removal card. This will take out basically anything because it's going to do 6+1 with the little extra buff. This will take out anything your opponent plays. I'm going to stick this in B tier. And that's where it's going to go because it's really decent. Getting team-ups with Starch Lord on the board is always good. You can basically force this too, because even if you just want to throw this in front of your Starch Lord just in case they teleport something in or, play a smoke bomb, you're never going to be losing from that. The only other routes that I sort of didn't count in this tier list is going to be these guys, because you can't really conjure them from Starch Lord. At the end of the day, both Lieutenant Caratron and in Sign Up Route, if you are exactly playing Beta Caratina, so again, forget about conjure, you cannot conjure these little guys from Starch Lord. Thankfully, that would be really overpowered, because they are superpowers, but if you have these are both going in S tier. I mean, Lieutenant Caratron is a team-up that conjures, a 1-cost team-up 2/1 that conjures a route. And then you have in Sign Up Route, which again is a 1-cost, very spammable, not team up, but it is amphibious, so it's just Spyrus on steroids, plus it has a really good ability, it can protect Starch Lord. I mean, these are both SS tier, and I'm actually really happy because Starch Lord is very strong. I'm happy that it's not conjuring root superpowers. That would be ridiculous. But anyway, guys, that is going to be the Starch Lord tier list. Thank you, whoever gave me this idea. If you want to see more tier lists, be sure to subscribe. If this video gets 50,000 views in the first few days, I will definitely take that as a sign from you guys that you guys definitely want more tier lists. So I will pump some more. I have a lot of really cool ideas, and I also do definitely want to go back on all the cards that have been balanced. Every card that's been balanced since 2000 end of 2024, and do now that I've had some experience with them and have played the cards to really do a master tier list of all of those. If you want to see more videos like this and more tier lists, be sure to subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. This is Fry. All right. That was great. That went awesome. Do we have time for the daily? I have to leave in 20 minutes. What do I have to do between now and then? All right, I'm going to... Let's do the daily quick. Guys, bets. I need to feed the troops here. Y'all need your daily dose of gambling addiction. Let's do it quick. Shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to do this daily, right? All right. Oops. I ran an ad by accident. I didn't mean to. Okay, I'll take a 1 minute break and we'll do it. We'll do it when I get back. 1 minute break. 1 minute break. I need to get some water anyway. I'll be right back. All right. Here's the real ad. Guys, do you want a mug that makes you smile every single morning? Get the mug. It's in the description of every single YouTube video. Someone just bought one the other day. Why don't you do tier lists more often? I don't know. Because there's just been so many decks I've been wanting to try. More important than tier lists, in my opinion, but I think at the end of the day, you're right. Let's get the sound on and let's do this daily. What is happening in this daily here? You get extra sun and brains every turn. Professor Brainstorm's Trick of the Trade. Okay. So it's going to be a trick based against Chumpzilla. I'll love to see that. So we're gaining extra. I guess we'll keep one of these. This Quasar looks pretty mid here. Alright, we'll keep a Bungee just in case. Eureka seems good. It would be nice to get Trickster in the starting hand. Turn 1 Quasar. And that is why we kept Bungee Plumber. Just in case he plays something that needs an answer. So we can go 3 and 2. We can go 4. I like the look of this gentleman zombie. We can also go 3+3, which looks kind of cool. La la la, da 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 da. I don't really see this doing much here. Let's just go for the card draw. It's about the last time we'll be able to play this. Oh, well, I'll kill my gentleman. So we'll go for the Quasar. We're doing great here. And we'll see if we can just focus more on the Trixtoise. Ooh, 2 Trixtoise. We're going to be able to play a lot here. So it's going to be 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Should I play this? Da, 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 da. In case he kills us. In case he has water balloons. So I'm seeing bonus attack. Oh, this looks pretty good. Prevent that from happening. And I think Beam Me Up is fine here. If I go here, I could actually play the Fireworks next turn. And take 3 damage. Why not? I have played Slay the Spire. I actually love that game. I'll play number 2 when it comes out, even though I doubt that's going to be like a long-term channel project, but Who knows? Maybe it'll be amazing. Maybe it'll have deck building elements. That would actually be a really cool upgrade to Slay the Spire too. I don't know anything about the game yet, other than that it's coming out later this year. But like, if you could Slay the Spire, you have unlockable things. So each run, maybe, you know, you've technically leveled up each run. But imagine you had deck building elements, so you could actually like arrange sort of a deck either of possibilities of things you could get, or you had like equipment, you had some things that maybe your starting cards you could like be changing and then build the roguelike on top of that. Obviously you'll need some luck if it's a very specific strategy, like being able to like deck build your starting deck. And maybe that's just something you unlock, is like, well, you're unlocking cards to put into your starting deck, and that be part of the unlocks of the game. That could be really, really, really cool. Damn. Hey, if they do that, I'll it's my game. Okay, so we're going 6, 7, 1, 2, I guess. Forget the fireworks zombie. I changed my mind. We're just going face. Cha-la-la, let me smash. Let me smash. Bruh. So what do? We bonus attack smash? We bonus attack this one? Alright. Keep it alive, why not? Oh, la 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 la. I don't know what I'm singing. Nice. That would be broken? Well, you'd have to make the game harder too. You know, like the later levels maybe would really require some deck building. I'm not saying you could put any cards, but just have some kind of like base cards that you can set. Maybe like anything that would be, instead of no rare cards, but things that would be less, you know, like different common and uncommon cards. And you could just do some really random stuff. That would be fun. That wouldn't be broke. It's a single player game. It's allowed to be broken. Nothing wrong with it. Let's do it like this. You can still beam me up inside in case of emergency. What about the tournaments? Bro's going face for 12. Think he understands how a block meter works. It's guaranteed lethal because, well, it's just guaranteed lethal here. Woo! BM! Alright. So the answer is yes. Whee! Hell yeah. Congrats to the yes, the 90% yes voters. Would you play tournaments instead of ranked VADs of the game? It wouldn't be instead, but maybe like, you know, fun decks I would play ranked, and then like the really sweaty decks I would do tournament. I would definitely, if there was a tournament mode in this game, I would definitely play it. I'm just not saying, I don't think I would just never play ranked ever again. I don't think I'll do that. I have not heard anything about Silksong. It got so popular that it, like the Steam crashed because too many people were downloading it. Seems like people are really looking forward to Silksong. Just came today, right? Monster Train, never heard of it. Alright guys, it's 3:20. I gotta, how many decks are there? There's one deck. Okay, I'm not taking any more, I'm just doing the one. I was about to say no, but I was like, if there's just like 3 or less, I'll do it. But okay, we're doing one deck. Do not submit it, you will get rejected. Rejected. La 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 la. We just have one. And it's from, I don't even know who. The Cone Zone 10. Stompa Imps. So if we put Imposter or Turkey right to left Stompidon, and if they Shrinking Violet, it will get a Stompidon activation? Okay. It's still a little bit hard to use these to activate Stompidon. I don't really like this idea, to be honest. If anything, Imp Commander Stompidon could be the combo. It's just going to be tough, man. I guess if your imps are to the left, you have an Imp Commander on the board, and then Stompidon is growing the imps, which is always nice. Small minions. Maybe this is good. Okay, a couple of things. I think I would run Black Hole just to give this deck some control elements. It also will make it harder for them to kill your Stompidon when played. I think you might as well run Black Hole here. It's also very good with Deadly, very good with Imposter. Black Hole just opens up all of these cards. I know you're running Graveyard for Cowboy, but at the end of the day, Cowboy in an Imp deck is not very good. It's still okay card, but you're not going to get these big Graveyard Cowboy plays because you have minions on the board. Yeah, I don't mind running Cowboy in this deck at all because it's still really good with Stompidon. Stompidon with Cowboy is really interesting. All right, because of Stompidon Cowboy, so we'll run Black Hole, and then that's a good reason to run leftover Imp. Is because of the Black Hole. Should I run Terrify in this deck because it's Stompidon synergy and Imposter and leftover Imp synergy? Well, I have to try it now, right? The Cone Zone. So I'm gonna write... I don't know about the Warlord. It's gonna be Imps with Imposter and Turkey Rider with Black Hole Stompidon Imp Commander and Cowboy. I wouldn't run the Warlord in this deck at all. And I'm writing Terrify? I mean, Terrify with even with Toxic Waste Imp is good because you're moving things into, well... I mean, if there's ever been a Turkey Rider deck, I guess this was it. And you're also running it with Imps. So it's deadly, and then it makes the leftovers better. Okay. Guys, I gotta go. There's Turkey Rider, there's Cowboy, there's Stompidon, there's Imp throwing Imp. There's a lot of riding happening. Yo, guys. Guys, I gotta run. Thank you so much for joining me. Great stream. What's going on? Ultorb. Thank you, Sayman, 17 months. Hello. Go visit Austria or whatever. La 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 la. La 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 la. That was so funny. So I just wanted to write down the name of the stream. No, 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 no. 9. Mixed nuts. Yeah, it's not a great card. Guys, I will see you tomorrow, maybe. Bye.